Hey everybody, it's EDAW'S End, Brandon. This is NODNARB'S Closet. I come to you today a very broken and sad man that only weed-infused balm could cure somehow, which Sean has later told me that the Tiger Balm, it just does the same fucking thing. I got gypped out of a bunch of money. But today I have Sean from Particulate X.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, most definitely. I've heard a lot of good things about you. I was just
Oh, wonderful.
talking
That's
to Doom and Apathy about you and a couple of the Grimtex guys.
yeah. Adam's a great friend of mine. Yeah, we've since I've been in the hobby, he's definitely been somebody that we were talking about before we left Adepticon too. It's just kind of like one of those things that we were two people who just kind of gravitated towards each other. So it's been a wonderful experience, and along with a number of other experiences too. So
Unlike Doom and Apathy, or maybe much like Doom and Apathy, do you know who Noah Wiley is? Noah Wiley? Do you know what the show
I'm
The Pit is?
no, I don't.
Okay, I can't ever seem to get his last name
Oh
right,
wait,
but
I did recently see though. Somebody was posting in
it
stories
was me. It was
that
me.
yeah. So
Okay,
I
it
did
was
kind of
me and
catch that.
Tim, Howling Tim.
Yeah.
But yeah, he very much looks like the guy. So we've been talking a little bit more. I interviewed him before, and yeah, he's a sound dude. He's
He
really
truly is.
nice.
Yes.
Um, well, let's start from the very beginning.
Okay.
How did you kind of get into the hobby? Have you been doing it your whole life? Or
Yeah. I mean, kind of. When I was a kid, I grew up in Connecticut. I still live and reside here. Um, and I think that when I was younger, I was just kind of, as you're a kid, you're playing with toys, you're doing different things, finding like different avenues of like fun stuff. I was kind of a borderline comic book person, not really. Always gravitated towards sci-fi stuff. But in Connecticut, we happened to have, I think at the time, two games workshops.
oh yeah,
So yeah, so we had one in Manchester at one of the malls, and then another at West Farms, which was another mall.
and that was
So at
like
one
10 minutes
point,
apart from each other,
yeah,
from one
roughly.
side
I
of the
mean, yeah,
state to the other.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Connecticut's small. It
yeah.
still feels like you're, traveling some distance, but yeah. So at one point or another, I did that thing that a lot of us did, some of us did, right? And I was like, that looks rad. What's that?
Yeah.
And kind of made my way in, and I'm looking at these tables, and this is like mid to late 90s. Yeah, no, probably early 90s, 95 ish, whatever. So I'm looking at these, you know, laid out tables with whatever terrain, Games Workshop had at the time, and
Yeah.
whatever hot models were the thing, the little blister packs and everything else. And I'm stoked. I'm sure my parents, my dad or somebody, their heart skipped a beat looking at
Yeah. Yeah.
the price tags on blister packs, right? But it was like just intriguing. These, they're bright and vibrant, and they had just that, that pop to them. And I was like, I got to get into this. And I think the
Mm.
first, I think the first box I ever bought was, I think some Wood Elf Archers at
Oh
the
wow.
time, which is kind of like out of the norm for me because, like I said, I always gravitated more towards sci-fi and less.
Hmm.
I love fantasy stuff. I just, when it comes to creating things, I'm a
Yeah.
little bit more there. And then that lasted for a little bit, and I painted them, and I think I like painted them with like little tube acrylics, and I was like, oh, these are cool. And then I had some friends that actually managed to acquire like some Eldar, like older Eldar. I don't know from who, from an older brother or sibling or whatever. So then that became a thing, and I was like, well, I need something. And I think I fell into like the Space Marines and stuff. And so, yeah, that was kind of like the introduction to Games Workshop,
Right.
Warhammer. We would take our shot
But
at
there's something about miniature anything
mhm.
that is appealing, and I know that this is not a new concept. A lot of people think this way, but it, especially whenever it's fucking rad shit like that looks like straight from like Doom and there's another game around that same time. Like whenever you got Wolfenstein, Doom,
Oh yeah.
all those different games, and it's just such a, all the proportions are fucking ridiculous. They don't
I
make
think
any
that
sense.
was the appeal of like I think when I kind of picked up I started leaning towards more like a Space Marine army at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I grew up I was probably like 7-ish when Doom first hit, when Wolfenstein first hit, the pioneers of FPS and all that. And I still, to this day, am such an avid Doom person. I'm not even much of like a gamer. I mean,
Yeah.
I play Fallout and stuff like that here and there, but I'm not like a gamer to the point where, I'm really committed to it. But Doom is still one of those things that has always had my heart, Duke Nukem, things like that were
Fuck
at the
yeah,
time.
man. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're speaking
so
my language and all that. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I agree that appeal of like that knee deep in hell cover and Martians and
yeah,
this like Phobos and like all that vibe that definitely was something that has always appealed to me and still does to this day. So I think that's kind of what also promoted me when I started seeing like the miniatures and everything else. And for me, I've always had like a little draw to being an artist. I get like creativity wise.
yep,
So now I can apply that artistry and creativity and make something cool while also doing it and embodying those other things that I liked. So yeah.
right. No, I agree. There's so many things I want to pick on that one thing. First, I want to say the game that I couldn't think of, that I can never think of for some reason, is before they went total battle arena bullshit and then went over to Korea and everything else. Quake used to be a single player FPS
Yep.
shooter, or FPS, and it was the grim dark of the two, I think.
Oh yeah.
Doom was definitely trying to be gritty, but there's a fucking nail gun in Quake. I will always remember.
I think I
And I
recall,
was
yeah.
thinking, like, that is the most wicked shit. And I was
Right.
probably 10, 11 at that
Mhm.
point. I mean, because my uncle had a computer and we didn't have a computer yet that could play those things. So
Yeah.
we would go over to his house and I'm like, there's blood in this? And
Oh
there's
yeah,
like,
it was the same thing for me.
there's red fucking squares, okay?
Yeah.
There's no blood there.
But it's like the gnarliest stuff you've seen at that age, at that
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah, that to me was like the awakening of my stuff. I've also been steeped in art since a young age, and it's what I'm finding out since I've renewed doing something art wise as a hobby is that because I started a lot like quite a big portion of our community back in 2020,
Mhm.
and then continued from there. But now I'm starting to that I'm going back to college at 38. I am seeing like
Well, good for
different.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. No.
I really enjoy it. I think it's the greatest thing that I could. If I could do this for the rest of my life, I would. But adding those different art styles, whether it's drawing or I'm in sculpture class right now. I sent you
Mhm.
the gargoyle head that I'm making.
Absolutely. Did you decide what you're going to do with the eyes?
Yeah, I sent. Oh, I did. I not send you the other.
I don't think you did. I
Okay,
think we talked about
yeah,
it through.
I made a third eye.
Okay, excellent.
But
Always
yeah,
good.
I'll send you. I'll send you that after. That's
Right on. Right on.
something I'm pretty proud of.
Good. Good.
But yeah, so whenever you were, did it only continue, or did you kind of ever drop off of Warhammer?
Oh yeah,
There,
absolutely.
there for a while?
I think that at those ages, you're like, I don't want to say it was a phase by any means, but
Yeah.
like, then you're like, because when you're younger and then you start to kind of get a little bit older, you care about obviously stuff that is you'll find out later in life is seemingly not as important, right? Like
Oh yeah.
impressing people.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, most definitely.
like if anybody found out that I'm painting little, plastic men and I have to try to explain
Yeah.
that and later on in middle school or high school, like that's not like for some people that's not gonna fly. For other
Right.
people that was like they're like, I'm not really concerned about anybody else and this is my thing. So, you had, people still very much enveloped in Games Workshop stuff, Warhammer stuff, or Dungeons and Dragons and like
Yep, that was
other
me.
RPG. Right. So, yeah, I think I just dropped off. I did, but I always pursued. So I think I just found another creative avenue, right? So
Yeah.
like for a while I pursued tattooing and things like that, and like other types of stuff that kind of scratched that itch. And so as long as I was always doing something creative, that for me personally, it's always been either arts or mechanics.
Yeah.
So for me personally, if it's if I can find a creative artistic outlet out of it, or I can do something with my hands and do something more mechanical, I'm completely infatuated with
Yeah,
it. And sometimes those two things, believe it or not, really integrate themselves. They overlap. They're not that different.
they
Sometimes
assist
when
each
I'm,
other, really.
yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when I'm kit bashing something, I look at it and I say, like, take this piece for instance that people have seen. This is a
Oh, yeah,
piece
yeah.
that, like when I was building it, I'm trying to
That's
add
fucking dope.
mechanics and certain things that make sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're placing pipes, wires, things like, what is this going to do? Building things with intention, it kind of, like I said, that's more of an art piece, but I'm still using a kind of mechanical perspective on
No,
it.
for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I can give you a perfect example of what is the opposite of that, which is going and doing your miniature and then realizing that you didn't put any cords or wires hanging from them,
I can't
and
not put
then
cord wires and stuff. So.
going, motherfucker, you just missed that one thing where you literally just got off of a project where all you did was fuck a floating head with cords out of it,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
couldn't think
I
to put
actually have seen
fucking
that. That's
cords on
awesome. Yeah,
that. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
but we live, we learn. That's the new Hobby Lobby sponsored quote for the day. You live, you learn. Sponsored
Yes,
by Hobby Lobby.
closed
Uh,
on Sunday.
Hobby Lobby has gone quite. I don't think there were 6 Hobby Lobbies in Tacoma, and I
Okay,
don't think any of them exist anymore. They
we
were
actually
all
have. I have one pretty close to me, and some of the other hobby related stores are kind of dropping off right now. Not dropping off, but Hobby Lobby's pretty rad. Like I said, it's only a bummer because they're closed on Sundays for
yeah,
their own
yeah.
thing. But
It's
yeah,
only a bummer because of the certain things that they support. I think I'm
yes,
glad that they're out of town. Personally, I have
yeah,
an art supply store that's right down the road. That's mom and pop. That
yeah,
is a beautiful. I would much rather go into something like that.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
Small business all the way. I'm totally fine with stealing my Milliput from Hobby Lobby. I'm
fuck
just
yeah.
gonna.
There for a while.
So
Actually, I tagged them in every hashtag of every post that I
yeah,
do now for the past like 2 years. So I've posted them in like some nasty shit before.
yeah,
It's fun
yeah.
to
It
do.
sucks,
I mean, it's fun to fuck with somebody every once in a while. It's got kind of
Absolutely,
a
the
one
right
bit,
people.
two bit misfit type of deal.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
were you ever in the music scene whenever you were growing up?
100%.
Yeah.
An active like band member. I never got into like the instruments of things, but I grew up in Connecticut, so
Yeah,
New
I
England,
was gonna ask you.
New England and tri-state area were spoiled in the regard of punk and hardcore and a lot of other music that a lot of people are not as it's like as able to see or be a part of on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So yeah, it certainly was a huge influence of
Huge.
mine.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
bet you guys were in the hotbed of a
Mhm.
lot of activity musically for hardcore and punk. So it's pretty beautiful to see. I don't know
Yeah.
how you could come out of that and not like it, but
It's funny too because I always tell people. So um, ironically enough, for people who know, I'm avidly straight edge. But I one of the first growing up, I grew up in the Middletown, Connecticut area, and I remember the first time I was kind of like really starting to take an interest in like punk and hardcore.
mhm.
We had this little record store in town, and it was called Record Express, and I was friends with the owner Ian, and I remember going in there and being like, I want to listen to hardcore punk,
Yeah.
and so literally the first album he gave me was Youth of Today, Break Down the Walls, that type
Hmm.
of like Revelation Records stuff, and so I fell into that. But strangely enough, that wasn't. I first eased more deeper into like punk and post punk stuff,
Yeah.
like Husker Du, Zen Arcade stuff, or like
Yeah, it's a beginner level
Fugazi. I was
stuff.
like a huge
Yeah.
Fugazi person. I still am. Um, so I eased more into that, and then kind of climbed into back into hardcore and stuff like that. But yeah, it's weird because yeah, I mean, being in Connecticut, we have depending on what level of those genres, obviously are a little bit vast, and some people um, lean little bit more towards youth crew stuff. Some got people lean a little bit towards like like heavier tough guy stuff and like all sorts of I've kind of had my foot in the door and a number of things. I left home at an early age and kind of pursued a lot of, just like kind of crashing, a little bit of homelessness, a little bit of like certain things because hardcore and punk were such a important part of my life. The community was such an
Mm-hmm.
important part of my
Yeah.
life. My friends were such an important part of my life, and
Crashing on
home,
couches whenever you don't have a place to
yeah, home
stay.
life just wasn't doing it
Yeah.
for me, and I felt like I could really truly go headfirst into this, and so
I've been through my fair share of couch surfing myself in
yeah,
my
yeah, absolutely.
early 20s whenever I went to college but didn't really go to college and then was a
Yeah,
fucking deadbeat.
that's
I
when you're supposed to be a deadbeat, though.
Yeah, I agree. And
Right,
and
right.
honestly, you and me talked before we got on here.
Yeah,
At 38, this is where I want to be. Which
yeah,
I'm going to
absolutely.
college now for my political science degree, and I would love to get like a master's in it.
Good, good, good.
It's I've never. You know what's weird is whenever you're taking a political science class and you can't stop reading about political science.
Mhm.
Like you actually are excited to read about a school subject. I've
Yeah,
never been more excited to just jump right in and knock out like a 40 question quiz or like I get it's fun to me
yeah.
weirdly, but
Now, question for you: do you feel like this has always been something that was like an inherent drive for you? Did you always feel like this was what you were going to pursue, or do you feel like the kind of climate and like the things that are going on right now are the things that are like, oh no, I'm in. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
no, I see what you mean. So I would say that it's how I've always been,
mhm,
because I can remember back to a time I was 10. I'll keep this short, but I was
sure,
10 or 11 years old, and it was the height of the new metal era. And I
yep,
was
yep,
wearing my Jinko shorts every day, even if it was
absolutely,
wintertime. Uh, and I remember the big thing in the Midwest because I grew up in St. Louis, or
mhm,
40 minutes south in the boonies of St. Louis, or outside of St. Louis. And ball chain necklaces, those metal necklaces
yeah,
that
yeah, of course,
Papa Roach and fucking all the
yeah. I'm
people
sure
from
I had a
Corn
hand.
and
Yeah,
they banned those from school because kids were whipping other kids with them.
I believe that. Yeah,
And
that seems like a thing to do.
I talked to my entire class and gave a big speech about how I was going to show up to the parent teacher conference thing where they all had it for like the town and they were going to make all these judgments, and I was basically putting my first piece of legislation up to say that they should be allowed because it's their freedom of expression and all
Right.
that. So at 10 years old, by the way, nobody in my class showed up who said that they were going to. Even the
Of course
popular,
not.
I had all the popular kids in mind you, my class was like 45 people maybe.
All right, right on.
So it was a very small town, but yeah, not a single fucking person showed up, and I'm sitting there with all nervous, reading from a paper.
Yeah, you're like, I'm
Sure.
doing it for you guys. They'll be here any time now,
Yeah, no,
right? They
no,
said
no. We
they're
should
gonna show
wait
up.
just 5 more minutes. They should be showing up soon. Brendan, it is 8 o'clock at night. No, yeah. So from a very young age, man, I think that I was finally able to allow myself to do what I want after my
Mhm.
wife told me like I shouldn't be doing it because I spent 14 years in the military.
Oh, excellent. Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. I mean,
Well, I could,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, no, no, no. I appreciate that. I just think I got what I needed out of the military,
Hmm.
and the military didn't take everything. They took a lot though.
Right.
I go back and forth with that subject matter on if I'm happy with it or not. But
Sure, sure.
so you're obviously very right leaning, which is the reason why I had you on the podcast. I'm
Not
joking.
right leaning.
I know I'm joking. I'm joking.
You're like, is he really listening to me?
No,
Uh,
just a joke. But how are things up on the East Coast? Because I'm on the West Coast right now.
right. Yeah.
I the thing that I can tell is like prices are going up. But how's everything on that side? I haven't seen ice around here yet, but I'm sure they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well, I mean, very fortunate to grow up in New England because, New England as a blue state and as a relatively batch of states that are relatively safe for people of all backgrounds, ethnicities, LGBTQ plus community. Like, if you're gonna live anywhere in this country at the moment, you're probably better off living here, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can say that our friends and the people that we care about that are being their livelihoods being threatened every day are entirely safe, right?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't mean
But
to plunge us into such a serious subject.
no, not at all, not at all. This is actually why when we were talking about this, I think that it was like something that you had posted, and the idea was kind of the responses that we typically get where we express what's going on and the intensity and the magnitude of of how it's affecting people, the political climate, and how it relates to the hobby, right?
Yeah.
For me, as a cis white male, I have it pretty made. You know what I mean? I have it easy, right? I can go just about anywhere. I can do just about anything I want to do, and I don't have the same weight and the same concern and just the pit in my stomach every day that I wake up that some of my friends do, my trans friends,
Oh yeah.
my friends of color in different backgrounds. And so I think that we'll build on this, but I think that typically you get that response where people are like, "Can we just keep politics out of the hobby?" Right? And those are also people that's coming from people who are also very comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like people who are able to say that and say, well, I just want to, I just want to paint and build things and do that. And yeah, of course, that's what we're all here for. We're all here to create something. We're all here to enjoy ourselves, but we also need to continue to build and open up the space to welcome the friends and the people that we care about that don't have those comforts that I was talking about, and need to know that we can all conjugate, come together, coalesce, so to speak, and have a safe space, right? Because I don't know about you, but I can only imagine that if I were to hear somebody say, "Oh, can we keep politics out of it?" Those are the same people who may not be the most reliable for our friends to go to or to feel safe around, right?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to think of whenever? I mean, I know this is worst case scenario, but I'm a avid Last of Us fan. I have been.
Yeah.
I played the first game probably a million times before the second game came out. I mean, I'm like steeped in it. I love it. I know it's popular. Like I just got the Last of Us Escape the Dark Castle.
Oh, awesome. Excellent.
Which Escape the Dark Castle, if you haven't played it, is a wonderful game that you can just sit there and play yourself. But
I think I did. I think I have heard other people talking about it as well.
Obsessed with the story. And I think about people in that scenario, not to say that we would ever get there, but it's not unlikely. 100%. How would I react, or what would I do if I was in a pinch? Do I go to that person that goes, just leave it out of it, or do I go to that for that person that's like, I'm not going to push it in your face like I'm a Mormon walking door to door, but I'm going to fucking talk to you about it.
Sure, absolutely.
I think the conversation is uneasy for people because that is something that they're not good at. But that's okay. You don't start off knowing exactly what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
And it's not about being depressed all the time, although it is pretty hard on the mind.
Yeah, it seems, yeah.
Everybody needs a mental health break. That's very important for
very, very important.
Anybody that might be listening. Hopefully you're listening and can hear that before you make a bad decision. But yeah, man, I think it's extremely important. There's so many artists out there that don't call themselves artists, and that's fine. But don't think that they're artists, and I don't think that that's fine. And whenever you're producing something that is art, regardless of what you think, and it's representing something, not everybody wants to do political art like I do. But yeah, what are some of your thoughts on it? Because I'm talking too much.
No, you're fine. No, not at all. As far as doing political related art,
yeah, I mean, or just the concept of like what we were talking about politics within the hobby.
Yeah, I mean, it's just my whole thing is that I don't want to be in a space in which not every person from every walk of life in. I just don't.
Yeah.
I have no desire. I think that there's so much different types of people, different walks of life, backgrounds, beliefs, like everything is everything, all of that has something to offer to this hobby.
Yeah.
All of it is a contribution, right? And it shows in that creativity. One of my pals, Bog Body Miniatures. Are you
Oh
familiar
yeah.
with
Yeah. I just
them at
hit
all?
her up the other day about Rat King.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. We were playing it a bit at Adepticon and all that. And Robin is, Maud, she's a phenomenal person. But yeah, also, like, again, a person who is, just dumping all this heart into her game and creating, an awesome environment and, just someone I truly have that I enjoy having around, with a number of other people like her. And, that's, I think, would I enjoy myself nearly as much going to something as truthfully as corporate as Adepticon is if it wasn't for the community, the diversity, and the types of people that are contributing this art, this creativity, this, I wouldn't, it wouldn't resonate the same way it does with me.
Right.
And so I think about, people like her and a number of other people as well who are just really making it something for me to look forward to.
Right.
The time that I spend with them, how, what I learn about them and what they share with me and the ideas that they give me and how it then filters into my art or what I create.
That's the greatest fucking feeling on the planet, I think.
Absolutely.
I think it's
absolutely.
Yeah. I think whenever you totally and completely find your niche, like I mentioned already, the Grimtex guys. Whenever I lived down in Texas with Bill Ford, Slapfee, Gabby, Tim, all of them, it's amazing whenever you can, really find a reason to be somewhere that you don't necessarily know if you would have been if they didn't have that extra section that was like-minded people. Because I could tell you right now, that's the only reason why I haven't gone to Adepticon yet, because of the extra stuff that's there.
Oh yeah,
that I wouldn't be really paying attention to.
Well, let's touch on that a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe. Okay.
For
so, yeah. So I mean, so this was my second year going to Adepticon. Yes, convention wise, just like anything else, or like a con wide, like it is very much like you have your vendors and it's very Games Workshop, it's very Golden Demon, it's very like all these other things.
Right.
And sure that those little groupings of things are great. It's great to go and check out and everything else. But as of this year, so as you probably know, the venue had changed from being in Schaumburg, Illinois to Milwaukee this year. The overall convention center was a little bit more accommodating for a lot of how much it's grown. Like I said, it's only my second year, so I can only speak so much on it. But as you're familiar with, like the Hive Scum guys, and Smash Bash and Matt Totally Not Panicking and all that, they've been obviously a huge part of building the grimdark community, and the community that embodies more creativity than the stringent chokehold that only modular minis could
well, I mean,
create, right? So
it might be their downfall. We might be seeing that right now, but
yeah, who knows? But I will say that for you or somebody else who has not yet made it to Adepticon or hasn't had the opportunity, that in itself has really just started to just have people flocking in, gravitating, I saw people who definitely, and I don't want to be this way, but who definitely were not accustomed to wandering into this open world of independent gaming and tabletop, RPGs and things. And we're like, this isn't that, but this is still really cool.
Yeah.
And people being like, I wish I knew about this, last year, or, what is, started asking questions and being like, I can build and paint things outside of the box, and I can create my own things and bring my own ideas to the play and different, creative, all sorts of stuff. Like, I don't have to be so this.
Right. It
And
doesn't have to match specifically to one area. It can
yeah,
be all kinds of things. Things can
right.
be out of proportion or weird and crazy. I mean,
As obscure and wild as you could possibly imagine, all is welcome.
yeah,
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
Right.
Many Worlds right now is doing a lot of that with his own sculpture for a
Hmm.
lot of his minis that I've been watching. His has been real bizarre. I love White Tigers
Oh yeah, yeah. Dylan. Yeah.
shit too. I like
Yeah.
Dylan.
Dylan. Excuse me.
Dylan.
I was
Yeah.
calling Dylan.
Sorry, Dylan. Dylan.
Sorry,
You're
Dylan.
fucking
Dylan.
Dylan,
Dylan.
friend. Dylan.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I wanted to make sure to touch on that too. Some of the shops and stuff that were in the Grim Dark, well, like shops being like just friends handing out minis and exchanging
Oh yeah. It was
currency.
chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. How big is that area? How big was it?
It grew immensely. You know, I again, I don't want to talk from a place of being like this avid Adepticon goer, for years, because like I said, it was my second year, but I had enough experience to compare it to what it was last year to this new convention center that it was, and I mean, it was just Adepticon made the right decision in allowing or giving adequate space for what
Right.
the Grimdark Alley deserved. You know what I mean?
They better,
It
or
was.
they're going to find their own con, and it's going to be competing against it before too long.
It's funny that you say that.
Hey.
Hey, yeah. I mean, it just was. It was perfect. It was perfect. For everything that everybody wanted to do. I mean, of course, logistically, it's kind of tough because that Grimdark hallway was at one end, and then like if you wanted to go and paint, free paint, it was like all the way at the other end. So yes, it took a little bit of time to get to and from different things,
Yeah.
right? But it was super accommodating.
That's good.
I rarely left that little space, but or that decent sized space. But yeah, it was great to see for sure.
Well, so I was thinking about doing that, and then I've been had a competing thing to go to, which is Salute,
Hmm.
because I just found out about it this year, but my buddy Max Gadney over overseas, he's pretty great. He's helped. I got put in an exhibit with Baharath,
Hmm.
Veronica, and Luke. So I was like,
Nice.
Jesus fucking Christ, Beyond the
Yeah.
Light. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. But then I found out it's only one day, and I
Yeah.
was like, well, fuck, I don't want to show up for one day and then come back. I mean, I could stay a couple days in England,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
meet a
Absolutely.
couple of friends, but at the same time, I'm like, do I want to do a couple day one? And what was the other one that you were going to mention? Funny that I.
Ah, yes,
Oh,
yes. So under the Dice Fest, Hive Scum Boys are doing that this year, and again, that's another one of those things that had went from very small VFW American Legion Hall to like a little bit of a bigger, almost 2-floor venue right now in Enfield, Connecticut this year, and that's a big thing. In fact, some of the people that I met last year at Adepticon were like, I could only go to one of the two. I could
yeah,
either go to Under the Dice or I could go to Adepticon. I'm going to Adepticon I'm going to Under the Dice this year.
yeah,
And I was like, whoa, right? Because like to be like that just shows the level of impact that this community, this part of the community, is having on people
100%.
who have been a part of the hobby for a long period of time or are relatively new, and they're like, I really enjoyed being introduced to what this end of the hobby has to offer me, and I
Yeah,
still want to be part of that. I still want to support that. I
for
still see
sure.
the DIY aspect of it, and a lot of things going on, a lot of things that they have planned.
I've always been drawn to things that weren't going to get a million copies made of it.
Yeah, of
I've always
course.
been
Yeah.
drawn to things that like really like I loved Rotten Works
Hmm.
there for a while. I love his art. I don't know
Yeah.
him individually or anything. I haven't but I really like, or even like Mammoth Miniatures.
Yeah.
I mean there's so many good things out there that are not following any rules that I that's the thing that I mean
It's just constraints.
I
I
think
mean,
I'm just a
truthfully,
true anarchist at heart, honestly.
yeah.
But
I mean, it's just. I think that it is. Rules are constraints, and sure, there's guidelines, right? There's
sure,
guidelines, but I will openly say I am not like when it comes to what I contribute to the hobby or what I do, because I'm not Hive Scum. They're friends
yeah,
of mine. I see them pretty regularly.
I don't want a
Gage,
beehive
Steve,
scum, to be honest with
Phil.
you. Yeah,
Right?
I don't want to do all that. Like,
Great friends, Gage, Steve, Phil, Terry. Phil, I've known for over 20 years. Again, somebody that I became friends with in the hardcore scene.
oh, good.
And in fact, part of my story was that when I came back into the hobby, I was sitting at home with broken toys and gluing them together, and I said, oh, Phil's disappeared again. And I went to find Phil, and I was like, dude, where the hell have you been? What have you been up to? He goes, oh, I've been doing things. He goes, I'm part of this podcast. And I was like, oh, right on. I was like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, it's Even Get It. I'm like, just stop. Just tell me
What are
what
you
the hell
talking
you're
about?
doing. And he's like, oh, it's, Warhammer miniature tabletop stuff. And I'm like, oh, this? And I'm
Yeah,
sending him pictures of shit because I'm still kind of like, for lack of better, words, I'm like a closeted nerd over here being like,
yeah,
well, I don't know if I'm ready for everybody to know. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden,
yeah,
but yeah, so I see them plenty. And so it's just, again, I'm spoiled in that regard of living in a great hub in
yeah.
Connecticut where hobby scene is awesome. The music scene is awesome.
Oh yeah,
I don't have to choose between Adepticon or Under the Dice Fest this year. And, I still get to see all my friends and all my people and just whatever. But what I was going to say is that I'm terrible at tabletop gaming.
yeah,
I'm horrific. I
yeah,
roll ones all the time. I
yeah.
don't. I don't. My understanding of the rules, my brain is very distracted. I need to kind of break away from all the distractions, my phone and the garbage and everything else. So for me, this is predominantly an art outlet.
Yeah.
It's I get to create my little things, and of course, as you've seen, probably a lot of my stuff is very, Necromunda adjacent stuff.
Right. That's
And
actually
so,
leading me to another
yep.
thing. Yeah, I was going to say that the most impressive, the thing that I always keep on coming back to,
Mhm.
I like your work, but the thing that
Oh,
I
thank you.
always come back to is I have a thing for disembodied things.
Yeah.
And like whenever your torso's floating,
Oh,
from the
I know that one.
Necromunda.
That's what.
So
Yeah, I actually kind of this one right here. Is this the one that you're kind of?
yeah, I fucking love him so much.
So, um,
I love him so much.
this was inspired by, what's it? Ortrum 88, the Psyhound type of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So that was like, this was my own little take on it.
yeah.
Um, it was inspired. I had read. I picked up one of Black Library's Necromunda books. It was Soulless Fury. It
Mm.
was kind of the another tale or another angle on Mad Dion, Mad Donna.
Oh okay.
So it was like a really great thing.
Shit.
And when I was reading it,
God, he's not.
this entity, this Psyhound, was brought up. And
Yeah,
so I was like, I saw the model and I was like, oh, I can make a better one.
I can
And
totally make a better one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So thank you. I appreciate that. But
Yeah, man, that's fucking insane. I really so I yeah, like the support system for trying to do floating things whenever you're doing that
yeah,
can get a little bit tricky depending on the weight and everything.
I think that one I did. I did. I drilled a hole in the bottom with, like, little hand drill, and then I just did a nail.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's still there, but it kind of, goes with the base and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that another one that I had done at the time was like the version of Mad Donna,
Yeah.
on the book art and stuff like that. So yeah, like I read segments of it and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I gotta kind of, make that about. But yeah, for me, I think that even what draws me to that world, right, Necromunda, is the class aspect of it, right?
Right.
The top of the spire to the underhive, and the complete disregard that the hierarchy has for the struggling working class people at the bottom who are really making these hive worlds thrive. They're
Yeah.
giving everything that they have, or they're falling into gang life, or finding means of rising above in their own way. So I
Mhm.
think that that's why I am so enamored by it, because that's kind of like,
It's more of a rebellion.
right. It's more
Yeah.
of a rebellion, and it's political in its own way too. You know what I mean? And that's why I kind of like, I did like those awesome Wild in the Street sculpts
Yeah.
that they did. I wanted to paint up. I was like, oh, I want underhive punks,
Mhm.
and I want them to have their own personalities, and I want them to have like little stories, and to like kind of express themselves and what it's like to grow up in the dim, dark, dingy wet under hive
That they had no
but
choice
but
to.
still be youth and
Yeah.
know that inevitably they'll either die at a young age or be sucked into a gang or have to, like just that struggling vibe. And I think that's why I'm so drawn to it. So a lot of when I'm creating my miniatures, when I'm creating my little pieces, like that's like I'm like, yeah, like this one has a story and this one's, you know, gonna pursue this or whatever. I kind of joke around because every so often, how like you had like grandparents or uncles or whomever who like had little train setups in their basement. Like they had
Yeah.
like whole
Oh,
cities
for
and there's a
sure.
train. I just want a whole underhive.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly. No,
like
I
that's
agree. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that that's kind of like my mo. But
Yeah, I just
um,
want a huge room where I can keep on creating and keep on building more of these nasty fuckers. Like
yeah, absolutely.
I think that yeah, you hit something on there too with the class situation.
Yeah,
I think that a lot more people are hopefully gaining a voice from their art as well. That's
absolutely.
usually the first sign that you can show it at least and not have to talk about it. But yeah, I think it's just important that it's kind of cool whenever those games actually intersect with their real life, even if we want it to stay
Right,
outside of it.
right. And that's the funny thing too. I mean, if you look at and God, I mean, how much could you possibly read about the 40K universe
Oh
or
my
Forge
god.
Worlds or like all that stuff? But if you deep dive into a lot of that stuff, it's very just because it's fictional universe. It's very political. It's very motivated. Like
Extremely, yeah.
there's a lot of this because war has motive, right?
Hmm.
Like that's what it is. Whether it's to absorb other peoples, to steal, to resources, to make money, whatever it is, war is motivated by something. It's a
Oh yeah.
power entity is intended to instill, destroy, create fear, take over, whatever it is. And so we, again, like we don't, you got those people who don't want to bring politics or war or other things that are going on in our world, our
Yeah.
real life, to the table, yet they're playing
All of these,
war gaming.
yeah. Or they're
They're
talking about Star Wars, or they're talking about yeah.
right. It's war. Like you forget what war is still war, and regardless of what the context is, whether it's here or there or So yeah, I think that it's just funny how there's that desire to navigate away from it, not realizing how much it's similar and the same.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah. I think that good art is political. Personally, I mean,
absolutely.
I think that and things that you wouldn't even think were political are political in art. So, right now, what we're going to do is get into kindness corner. Barrett, if you could you give me a still life size Stephen Miller? Because I feel like Stephen Miller hasn't been talked about a whole lot,
Uh-huh.
and he seems to be the Nazi that is like orchestrating some of these plans. So I'm gonna have Barrett take him as a human Q-tip, and I need Trump bent over a hospital bed with
Yeah,
a
sounds great.
preferably like a doctor's gown or a patient gown, and just being rammed
Oh yeah,
as far up. I mean, he doesn't even have
relentlessly.
to be recognizable at this point, but
No,
because his cocky ass needs to be beat the fuck up.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you see a Nazi, punch a Nazi.
Oh please, yes,
What's a
absolutely.
little bit of kindness that you could give to the community after that well thought out uh, destruction of Stephen Miller that I just laid out in front of you?
Um, I don't. Uh, uh, I don't exactly know what type of kindness I could give to the community as far as being supportive.
Yeah, just something that somebody's done for you, maybe in the hobby, your relationships that you find in the
Mhm.
hobby. If there's any specific instance, um,
Oh, there's been a number of them. I mean, the list goes on to like we had talked about Adam, doom and apathy, and
yeah.
uh, okay, let's the hobbies, the everyone in the hobbies friend of Mr. Hollow Bodies Jackson, of
Oh
course.
my God, he's such a sweetheart.
He is truly, and the running joke is I know him very well. In fact, when I went to Adepticon this year, that's who I roomed with. I roomed with Jackson and Adam, and it's funny because he's so he's so genuine and lighthearted as an Aussie, and like he comes here, and then every so often like I'm picking at him, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm being a New Englander, right? I'm
Yeah.
being
You just start
like
talking
kind of
shit.
like a shithead American,
Yeah.
right? And he just looks at me, and he's like, "Why are you like this?" And like it's funny too, because I'll pick on him, and he'll be like, "Dude, why are you like this?" But then when we're away from each other, it's like, "I miss you. I
Yeah.
miss you too. You know,
Yeah, I
let's
get that.
cuddle," type of thing. But no, I mean the list of people who have uh, been kind to me has been phenomenal. I mean, whether it be, you know, like the Hive guys, you know, Gage and
Yeah.
you know, Terry. I've known Terry for a while. Um, you know, just a number of people. Even actually coming up, you know, under the Dice Fest. I live in Connecticut, but still the venue's going to be an hour away. And I posted
Mm.
in the in Rust We Trust Discord, being like, hey, can I crash with somebody? I'll throw you some cash or whatever. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. Shankly has a brush. Have you
Uh,
seen his? Check out his page,
yeah.
Steve. He's a phenomenal painter. He lives in Kentucky right now.
What is it? It has a
It's
brush?
Shankly has a
Shankly.
brush.
Okay.
Yeah, check him out. He's
I'm
awesome.
sure I already have.
But again, another person who was like, "Oh yeah, crash with me. I don't want anything. Just, you know, come crash with me." And like, I'm asking something ridiculous, because
Yeah.
the venue's an hour away. I just don't feel like going 6 hours back and forth throughout the weekend, right? But you have people who are so selfless in just being like, yeah, I don't care how you get here.
Yeah.
I don't care how you get to attend, as long as you get to attend. You know, like, you know, and it's been like that from the get go. You know, it's been like that with last year's Adepticon. My friend Mike, Cosmic Kraken Mike.
Yeah.
Um, Again, another person who at the time was like, hey, you can, you know, room with me and our friend Scott Omancer, who's another close friend of the community. And it's just like, the list goes on of people who have in some way, shape, or form just been like, I don't care how you get there. I just want you there. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. And so for me personally, any opportunity that I get to give that back, to welcome, you know, like I was saying before at Adepticon, new faces were kind of, I'm like, oh yeah, come on, come check it in. Oh yeah, go check it out. Go. They're playing Rat King, or you know, Matt over here is showing off his new game Sunrot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or like, yeah, ask questions. The more the merrier, because that's the same welcoming and the same warmth that I received, right? So
Yeah.
naturally, that's what I want my community diverse. I want everybody to feel safe. I want everybody there. I want everybody creating things. I don't care what it looks like. I hope it's everything that their wildest imagination can create, and that's, you know, that's what it is for me.
That's
So I
who I
try to
want to
give
hang out
back
with.
that.
Yeah. I think I think it's important, man. You know, especially in a community as small, I guess, as ours. It's getting bigger. I think it's
Yeah.
just it's like what it was like whenever I was a kid, whenever I was in a band and
Hmm.
we had friends that were bands from across the US, we'd ask to stay at their house. It's
Right.
like
It's
the
the same
same
idea, the
feeling.
same punk DIY.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
And that I love that. Like I think that a lot of our parents or the boomers before us would have been like, have somebody that you haven't seen
Right.
for a
Right.
long time in your home. Aren't you scared of the burglar
Yeah. Absolutely.
uh, or the sodomizer?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It just feels so ridiculous, the closed
Right.
off world that they lived. I do want to clarify. I said that I don't want to be hive scum because they like talking to people much more than I do. I do like my alone time where I can
I
center
think I've
myself.
seen them burnt out too, though.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that they were like this year, especially too at Adepticon, it was like tough because they were immersed in their booth. They did really well with Matt, and like Tyler was helping out as well. Tyler is all right at painting,
Yeah.
who great friend of the community,
Oh
took
yeah.
home a runner up pin from
Oh
the
shit.
Golden Demon.
Oh no shit. I
So
didn't realize
yes,
that.
we another one for the team. I'm very proud of him. He's very humble about it, but I
Good.
want to
I think
drop
he won
that.
something not too long ago at Under the Dice Fest, I think.
I don't
Or
know,
maybe like a year ago.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, like they were so busy and so immersed in what they were doing up there that they were like they felt like they didn't get away enough to like
Yeah, that
actually play
sucks.
games and do the thing. But yeah, you know, I've definitely seen them burnt out too, so I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah. I mean, it's gonna happen to anybody. But yeah, I'm very much I love to go and do something, and then I need like a full on recovery. I call them dungeon days. I just make it dark in here and just hobble over in the corner and paint
I don't care
with a
how
little
social.
light, maybe naked. I don't know.
I don't care how social you are on a regular basis. It is, I think that we all have an understanding and an agreement that is very easy to just be like completely overstimmed
Yeah.
and socially burnt out, especially when you get there. Because then you're like, I remember your face, I don't remember your handle, your name,
Yeah.
or like you're like, hey, what have you been doing? And then you're trying to like avoid the nice weather conversation or how's life, outside.
Oh yeah.
Like, and then
I'm not a small
eventually, like
talk
a little bit
person.
as the week kind of continues, it's like we're where we need to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
overstimulation definitely for some. So I
Yeah.
completely get that.
Well, that will take us into one bit, two bit misfit,
Hmm.
which is a little bit of anarchy that we can add to all of our lives.
Hmm.
Is there any little bit of a little coupon of anarchy that you could give to our the people that listen?
A coupon of anarchy.
Yeah, yeah, just
Um,
like a little bit of spicy sauce for
oh,
the
okay, like a little bit of like what my personal suggestions are to people who are currently navigating. That
like-minded people who are
okay.
navigating. Yeah,
Um, yeah. So
it's all hypothetical. It can't be illegal. Trump administration. I know that you want to deport both of us. You'll probably get to it. We prefer Canada.
yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, as left leaning as I am, I encourage everybody to legally get guns.
Yeah.
Um, absolutely, I am a avid supporter of that.
Oh yeah.
Definitely avid supporter of gun control, but I would like to see some of our more vulnerable friends start to be a little bit more open minded to that, um, just to feel a little bit more safer.
Mm-hmm.
So legally, of course,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, but kind of an abstract idea for some people who are like, I don't know, but yeah, I think
But
that
if you don't have it,
if you don't have it, um, but yeah, on a more serious note, I think that it is important. We briefly had talked about, you know, protesting and things of that nature, and I myself, I am not inherently an aggressive person, but I do feel that unfortunately our situation is starting to heat up very fast
right?
if it hasn't already gotten to a boiling point. So I would like to have my friends be a little bit more open-minded to the possibility that they may have to take means into their own hands
Right.
and potentially be a little bit more prepared than they had hoped to be.
Yeah.
So that's
Unfortunately,
a
this
little
is the prepper
token,
period. Yeah.
right? So definitely something I'd like to see a little bit more of, just just in case.
To expound
Um,
upon that, I think that well, I mean, I don't feel ashamed for saying this.
mhm.
I bought each and every one of the members of my family in this house a gas mask in case something was to occur.
Perfect. Absolutely.
And I bring it with me to protests. And I understand if people don't want to go to protests. If you do, keep your head on a swivel.
Yes, absolutely.
Constantly, if they got glasses and a hat on, look to see if they have a vest on.
Yeah,
Um, just be careful out there. I think you're right. I think we're at a pivotal point now, and if you don't take care of this the legal way, uh, then it may come down to a situation where you don't have
absolutely.
it. So
And again, and I don't even, I've never been an aggressor. I've always been more of like a defensive aggressor myself. But I just feel like the a lot of the people who are threatening our livelihood, our friends' livelihood, and what's going on, they're not necessarily taking. They're not going to be. They're not necessarily taking a passive approach,
right,
and they're not going to continue to take a passive approach. And so, it does have to start to develop where our side of things is a little bit more prepared.
yeah,
And
I agree.
again, I know that it's an uncomfortable topic, a very topic for some people, but just they're not going to expect that, right?
Yeah,
They naturally assume that um, these communities are weak. These communities are just going to be pushed over. They're going to go away. They're going to shut up.
Right.
And that's not the case. You know what I mean? Because if it takes someone like you or I to step in, or other friends of ours to step in, we most certainly will.
Oh,
It
for
just
sure.
helps to have that reinforcement, right? It helps to be prepared. It helps
Right.
to have, I know it sounds wild, bug out bags, or
It's not
gas
wild.
masks,
We
or
gotta
it's
we on this podcast. We're trying to take away
okay.
all the
Yeah,
stigma away from all
absolutely.
of that. And I'm not saying even that I'm not calling you out or anything. I
Oh no,
just
you can call me batshit crazy.
it's
That's fine.
it's no
Um,
yeah. Bug out bags are very intelligent, regardless
yeah,
for natural
absolutely.
disaster. So yeah.
Right. So that's my little bit of that's my little token of suggestion. A
Thank
suggestion of
you. Yeah.
absolutely.
I think it's important. Here's the one that I'm going to give for this week. That's pretty reoccurring one. I think either
Mhm.
that or it's a reoccurring one in my head. Uh, if you see something, confront it.
Mhm.
The worst that's going to happen is that people are going to see that you don't that you stand on shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if there's ever a situation where you feel like somebody should have stepped in to help you, like I know that every single one of us has been through. Every
Yeah,
fucking one of us has been through a
absolutely.
similar situation. Think about what it feels like whenever somebody backs you up,
Right.
and then tell me that you're doing the right thing. Because yeah, this is the time now. It's no there's no prep. You got to be ready to ready to go at this point because
Yeah.
the Supreme Court just told President Trump that he has to return the dude from Baltimore that he accidentally sent, but then said he was a criminal and berated him in the news and talked about how big of a terrorist he was and how he
Mhm.
was in a gang, but we made a mistake. And the Supreme Court said that he
And
must be back soon.
this was the gay gentleman, right? Who had is it
No,
my
I think he's got a wife, a dude in
okay?
Baltimore.
There was
Yeah.
okay. I was thinking of there's this gay gentleman who I believe was Hispanic of background, and they falsely identified like a crown tattoo on because they were looking for gang related
What
stuff,
does that
which
matter? Yeah.
like
Crown.
just some wild obscure reasoning for uh, trying to scoop this gentleman up and send him to where he belongs, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
And I've actually, just to share a quick personal story.
Yeah.
When I when I was this was a handful of years ago, but I had a close friend of mine who was from Jamaica. His name was Rashad. Phenomenal guy. I absolutely, like he was just a bright, vibrant person. I loved seeing whenever I got to see him. And uh, I remember I would see him nearly every day, if not every week.
Mm.
And then a couple weeks led by, and it's like I ran into some friends, and I was like, "Hey, have you guys seen Rashad?" And they're like, "Yeah," like because I think it was his nephew or something. They're like, "Yeah, ICE came and took him and sent him
Jesus
back to
fucking
Jamaica,"
Christ, man.
and he has a daughter here too. So imagine like thinking, imagine the impact of your living your life, you're minding your own business, you're um, just existing. Again, a vibrant, wonderful person to have around, and then
Mm.
you just have these fucking people come along and just cuff you up, rough you up, and send you to back to Jamaica, and
To
to
die
like
or
the impact
to
of
not be
that,
able to
like
survive. Yeah.
and this was, I think, this was dated. This was many years ago. It was probably during Trump's first run, um, and this is local. This is happening. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? We're not. This isn't just the stuff that's being portrayed on the media. This is a problem. And to your point,
It's
also,
full
yes,
on
if you see
happening. No stop. No stop.
right,
Yeah.
um, and
If you want to see something, say something. Go ahead. Sorry, that's what you're
if you
saying.
want to see, if you see something, do something right under those certain circumstances. But absolutely under no circumstances, if you know anything, keep your
Yeah.
mouth shut.
Take video. We
Because
all got it on us.
absolutely, absolutely, whatever your means of protecting yourself and the people around you, regardless of how well you know them.
Yeah.
Honestly, like far more of us are on the same side of this than you may realize.
Oh, 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
right? So you're not alone, and we just need to continue to group and you know just become stronger and
Talk to
grow.
your friends
Because
about politics.
absolutely,
Talk to your friends
absolutely,
about politics. If you don't like
yep,
talking about politics with your friends. Find some new friends that want to talk about politics as well, and keep those other friends, but also try and sway them to talk about politics because it affects everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing is too, some people are kind of iffy about politics because they don't necessarily understand all the, like the definitions of things or the structure of things, or like the verbiage and how it's used. And there are other outlets that kind of break these things down, that
For sure.
kind of make it more easy to absorb and to understand. So if your issue is, or your concern is, well, I'm just not, my brain doesn't work that way,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really quite know. I know the obvious things that are going on, and I know what's obviously right and wrong, but I want to get a better understanding of this. There are other outlets. There's a podcast that I listen to pretty regularly on like my commute to work and stuff like that, and it's actually by this comedian, and she has her own podcast, and it's called Without a Country. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
I have not, but I'll check that out.
It's great, and her name's Corinne Fisher, and she's actually
Okay.
running for mayor of New York. So that's
Okay.
another
I know
cool
Corinne
thing. But
Fisher, yeah.
she dissects different articles and reads different things from different media sources and compares those things to kind of separate the bullshit from you know the stuff that might be factual. So tries to find those consistencies and things like that, and breaks things down in a way that is easy to absorb, right?
Yeah.
So that's stuff like that, podcasts, other things.
Ask your
Look for them.
friends.
You will find something. Yes, your friends will be able to direct you to things that will help you to better understand the current climate and what's going on. So,
And I offer up myself. Just hit me up. Ask me a question.
absolutely
It's not
wonderful. Yeah,
no questions or stupid questions. Just ask me. I
right.
had the only people that have asked me so far have been two trolls that have literally like just tried to push the same propaganda over and over again that he's not going to
Yes,
do these things. And then several months later, he's doing those things. And one of the guys that texted me was Hispanic. So I'm like, how,
yeah.
you're
It's
going to
very
be in a
strange.
worse position than I am, man. So
Yeah, it's almost kind of, and that's sad in its own way, and it's a very strange in denial type thing. I don't really know how to approach that.
yeah, it's difficult, man.
But
It's the ever growing problem that is what we told our. We're gonna wrap this up here in a second, but what our
no, yeah,
parents told us, which is you don't talk about politics, it divides everybody. And then what did everybody do? They didn't talk about politics because it
right,
divides everybody. And now we're in a mess because we didn't fucking talk about it.
absolutely, I
And that
agree.
everybody just bases their beliefs off of who birthed them or who they find more attractive, or you didn't base it in reality. And that's why whenever he says something on the TV, you literally turn around and say, he didn't say that. That's
Right.
horseshit.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it's
uh,
it's it's this fucking yeah, turnstile of bullshit for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's just never ending. Hey, on a good note though, hopefully that guy from Baltimore is coming back soon. He was,
Absolutely.
he was
Absolutely.
judged that he was supposed to. So, everybody stay safe out there. It's been a pleasure talking to you, dude.
Thank you.
Good
I
to,
appreciate you having me on as well.
and I hope many, many times over. I'm planning on doing a couple of two people on talking about things from different worlds. So I'm planning on hitting you up again several
Oh,
times.
absolutely.
If not,
Anytime. Anytime.
yeah. But thank you so much. And is there anything that you want to plug real quick?
Just anybody who wanted to or is considering going to Under the Dice Fest, a bigger venue.
Mhm.
Tickets are being sold at the door, which was recently announced, which is great. So I'd like to continue to see that grow. Um, I mean, so many names of so many great people. You all know who you are.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm not really working on anything steadily outside of I'm doing some like little commission things for people who are interested. I've called it kind of bits for bash or bash for bits, where
Yeah.
if you have great ideas and you're kind of like, I don't know how to do it, and you want me to bash you something, I'm just being like, hey, you got some bits, I'll make it work, and that's kind of like a barter system. So that's what I'm doing.
That's fucking
Uh,
dope.
but
That's cool.
but yeah. So other than that, like, no, I think that
Oh well, he's not going to do it because he's a swell guy. Particulate X, you can find him on there, on
yeah,
Instagram. I know that a lot of people. Hey man, I fucking hate Instagram. The one good thing is it brought us all together because I wouldn't have been able to
absolutely, yeah,
find that. So I'm very much at odds with Instagram. I hate it. I want to get rid
yeah.
of it. but I'm reaching people more now that they maybe could use the info. So I'm in
Sure.
a
Well,
personal
worst case
battle.
scenario, if Instagram isn't working for you and a lot of other people, also, the Industry Trust Discord for
Yep.
whoever is not on it. And yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll start to kind of get into like maybe we'll just all just migrate away from Instagram.
Or we could just do commune. We could do a commune.
Let's just
and
do
we can
that. Let's just
fucking...
let's just find a big plot of land.
Let me
and we'll
tell
just
you,
commune.
the PNW is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It is a gorgeous place that if there's any fantasy world out there, it closely resembles in America, it's definitely this place. It's fucking gorgeous.
Oh, awesome. Let's see if we can start. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah, commune here. Yeah, we'll talk about it right after when we talk about who that sacrifice was going to be made to.
Right.
Yeah, it's been great, man. You guys have a great day, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Buy a gun, or don't. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, this is Barrett from the ATI Podcast, here to talk about the MANIC Compression Group. The various podcasts that make up the MANIC Compression Group include ATI Podcast, Waxing On with R&J, NODNARB'S Closet from EDAW'S End, and It's Just Two Movies. The MANIC Compression Group is a voice for the voiceless, a platform for those dream chasers. The various creative arms of the MANIC Compression Group all have one goal in mind, and that is to bring a spotlight to underground artists and amazing artistic works. ATI Podcast, hosted by yours truly, focuses in on interviewing rising artists, content creators, and small businesses. Waxing On with R&J, hosted by brothers Ridge and Jake Jackson, gives love to physical media. It promotes purchasing physical media as a means to support artists, album reviews, details on production and audio quality on various formats, all with the end goal in mind to give some love to some amazing artists. Outside of the physical media love, you're going to get reviews on recent concert viewing experiences, as well as local show calendars. NODNARB'S Closet focuses in on miniature painting, the D&D world, role-play games, as well as various niches in the hobbies of 40k Warhammer, Dungeons & Dragons, and tabletop RPGs. Led by Brandon Stuart of EDAW'S End, NODNARB'S Closet brings attention to the many talented people involved in the hobby. It's Just Two Movies, hosted by Danny King in a rotating guest panel, covers just that, two movies. One critically acclaimed or favorably viewed, and a secondary movie probably not good, but the hope is that it is so bad that it's entertaining. Sit back, enjoy some libations to the velvety tones of Danny King and guests, with an injection of jocularity and improv comedy. The MANIC Compression Group can be found across all podcasting platforms, but the full experience can always be enjoyed on YouTube. We thank you all. Stay safe out there.